A new film is releasing on the Wonder streaming platform, a film called Wishman. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the lead actor of Wishman, playing Frank Schankwitz. And we're talking to Andrew Steele. Andrew, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Hey, Peter, thanks for having me.
And I must say, Andrew, first of all, you are Australian, aren't you? Because you were in Home and Away and other Australian programs.
That's right. Yeah, Aussie, born and bred in Bronte, New South Wales. So, yeah, it was a great challenge to throw myself into the Prescott accent that Frank Schankwitz has. Is from born and bred in Arizona, so a little different to my natural tongue.
Okay, we'll talk about your American roles and so on, because you've been involved with other films, of course, as well, and shows. But let's talk about Wishman and Frank. Now, this film is all about the backstory to Frank and how he eventually founded the Make-A-Wish Foundation. How did it come about that you were offered the role of Frank?
Well, I before I knew anything about the project, I met Frank and started talking to him about a socially conscious film festival which I run called Flicks for Change. And so basically it's a film festival that focuses on films with important social messages. Then we invite all the nonprofits in the space to come and be a part of panel discussions and what have you. So it's this community that's about forward thinking and inspiring people to want to take action about important issues. Anyway, so I was telling Frank my idea and what I was doing, and he kind of just stopped me there and was like, you know what? Somebody like you should be playing me in this movie. Hey, Greg, this guy should play me in the movie. And I'm like, yeah, who's Greg? So that was my introduction to the fact that they were even doing a movie. And then I auditioned for it. And, I was in the middle of, at the end of my audition, they basically had a quick chat, the writer, director, Theo Davies and Greg, and outside of the room, and came back in and said, well, you're the Wish Man. Who else do you want to play in the movie? So I was like, whoa, okay, great. So that was kind of how it started.
Okay, and Frank's story is such an interesting one, especially certainly his backstory and about eventually meeting this dying child who set him on the road to establishing the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Apart from speaking to Frank himself, who we see very briefly at the end of the film, did you do additional research to get into the role?
Well, yeah, I mean, I work with a dialect coach, and so we work closely with the dialect coach, Frank, and myself, which is a very unique opportunity to, when you're studying particularly somebody with a particular cadence and accent that you don't really hear in many other films and what have you. Because he has been a public speaker for a long time, I was able to watch a lot of, talks that he would give. So I could kind of really hone in on that. Outside of that, I had to have motorcycle training to be able to ride one of the Harley Davidson. I didn't actually, one of the first things he said to me, he said, "You ride a motorcycle?" And I lied and said, "Yes, I did." So I had to get my rider's license as well. And so we did that and learned how to ride the 1980s vintage Harley Davidson, which is like, that pressure of shooting a film, but then the pressure of like, it's $100,000 for every scratch that you put on this motorcycle. So no pressure, kid, but don't stuff it up. So there was that firearms training. And, I guess the real pressure was just having him, it be something that he was proud to put his name to. And, when you have somebody, give you the green light to play them in their life story, there's quite a bit of pressure involved with that.
It certainly is, but well done that you did that. And Theo Davies, as you said, was the writer and director. How much additional instructions or work did you do with him insofar as developing the character?
Yeah, well, lucky, it was all on the page. Theo and I had a great relationship and still do. He was really awesome to work with. If there was any particular things that I thought maybe could be changed. He was open, and for everyone on the set, he was kind of open to it being a collaborative process. But look, So there was a book that was written with one of our co-producers and our lead producer, Greg Reed. And they, so that, and so there was a book, Wishman, that I was able to read and really get the backstory, because in a screenplay, there's only so much you can put in, and for the timelines to all work up and for it to be, an engaging film, there are certain things they need to jig around, like timeline wise, or they're putting two scenes together that in the book, you really got an understanding of literally, what happened. So that was a huge help to have that resource, and to have Frank. Frank was on every shoot day. Like, he was there. He was not only the location scout, but he was also the kind of the liaison about certain things, about the everything from the uniform down to how I would get on my bike, how I would check the traffic situation when I was pulling up on my motorcycle, and all these kind of technical things that were bang on to exactly how it would happen in the 80s.
How very interesting. And I found also quite a revelation about the way young Frank was brought up, with a very controlling mother, an estranged father, the sort of schism between the two, and how that was an important part of shaping Frank's life. And the young actor who plays Frank is a very good one.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. The two guys that played, the 12-year-old Frank and Michael, absolutely phenomenal. It was a real gift to be, in scenes opposite Christian Guinier, and to have our young Frank just like do such an incredible job. It was, I had to lift up my game, because, he's representing Frank, I'm representing Frank, and, it was movie Frank, as Frank would say. It was super impressive.
Did Frank at any stage comment at all on any of the scenes, or ask to have some revisions made because it wasn't quite right in terms of his life?
Well, I mean, by the time I got involved, the script was pretty locked. So they'd been working. Theo had been working with Frank for a couple of years on the screenplay. So that was all ticked off in as far as Frank was concerned. But then there were, he was happy with the performances. That he said it was just like a really cathartic experience, kind of standing on set and in the screening rooms, watching his life play out in front of him. And he was very complimentary, even though he's a man of few words. He'd let me know if there was anything that I needed to change, and there wasn't really anything. He didn't come up to me at the end and go, I really wish you had done it like this or like that. It was all just like, what a great movie kind of thing,
Great. And as you said earlier, the getting the accent right, I suppose that was quite a task for you.
Oh, it certainly was. Yeah, it was. Going through NIDA and stuff, we learned how to kind of write phonetics so that we could specifically attack an accent and get all the sounds that are in the mouth. Whether it's a lot of it's just different placement for the vowels, but when you're working with somebody like Frank, who has a very distinct, accent that you just don't hear around the place. But yeah, it was such a gift for Frank. I literally gave him my script and recorded him like reading the script. But what I didn't tell him at the time is that, when you're reading a script and when you're saying it naturally, it does sound different. Like the way you pronounce things is different. So I didn't tell him, no, you wouldn't actually sound like that. You'd sound more like this, because, I'm like, I'll just take that and I'll listen to the recording, speak to my my vocal coach about it, and then we'd give our version of Frank. And that's the important thing with these kind of things, is to not be so stuck on how exactly is the sound coming out of my mouth. It was kind of like, once I'd done the research and the practice and I was happy with how it sounded, then I needed to throw that all away and be in the moment for the scene, because it's more important to tell the story and for me as the actor to be moment to moment, as opposed to being in my head about, oh, what was the sound that I'm trying to make? Is that the right sound? It's kind of, I gave myself permission to be, I am Frank, and how I'm speaking is how Frank is saying it.
Very good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You work, in fact, with some really good actors, Kirby Lanton and Bruce Davison. Davison's good to see him again, and Frank Whaley and Tom Sizemore, Danny Trejo. It's a terrific cast. It must have been a pleasure to work with so many good people.
Yeah, it was an absolute gift. Every scene that I had like a truly like top level actor to play against. And the reality as an actor, the majority of scenes that you do are audition scenes with your audition partner. Luckily for me, my audition partner is my life partner. She's also in the film as well, but we were just friends at the time. Kim Jackson, who plays Sally, who was when Frank has his big motorcycle accident, the first person at the scene is Sally. And you only see her for one scene, but we were friends at the time, and I suggested her for the role, and they took me up on that. And but months after we shot the film, we moved in together as friends, and then one thing led to another, and we have a 10-month-old baby, little Jackson, and we're super happy and married, and yeah.
Talk about making a wish. That's
Right.
very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well done. That sounds great. Now, I read, I think the film was shot, was it in 2018?
It was the end of 2017, actually. It came out on Netflix at the end of 2019. And and then so it was quite the ordeal. We had 18 months on Netflix worldwide, which was great. But it's very exciting now that it's got a re-release on wonder.watch, where 40% of all of the takings go directly to Make-A-Wish Australia, so that just by watching a film, you can help fund the next wishes for the kids to come.
Oh, that's terrific that it has that connection. So with going back to the actual filming, how long did it take to shoot, and were there any issues during the shoot?
Well, the first issue was there was a massive hurricanes in, I think it was like the Texas hurricanes happened like kind of the month leading into when we were supposed to be shooting. And we had a bunch of our investors had property in Texas. So they were like, I don't think they've lost a house. I don't think we really want to still invest in this independent movie. So we lost funding. And then it was like, our fearless leader, Greg Reed, our head producer, was just kind of like, you know what, we've got so close. We've got enough money to bankroll like the first 2 weeks of the 5-week shoot. Let's just start shooting it. And then he invited some of his friends to the movie set and said, isn't this a great movie? Give them a little, they're in the back of this shot here. And, we're in the movie. It's like, great, when's it going to come out? It's like, well, that's the thing, guys. We've got no more money. So if you want this movie to come out, you might just need to put in a chunk of change. So he was able to rally, his network of people to really kind of get us going. And I don't know if it was a good omen, and we ended up starting shooting on September 11th, in 2019. And so that was pushed back to then, and he just pieced it together and just kept getting chunks of money here or there to keep it moving, because once you lose the momentum of the shoot and we have to go back to LA from Arizona, it was just like, we just got to shoot this. So by tooth and nail, he was able to do it and, put it all together. And now it's all on screen for us to watch and enjoy and be inspired by.
Oh, that is terrific. And I'm so glad it was first on Netflix and now on wonder.watch, as you say. That's great. So in terms of your own career, Andrew, because I notice you've been in a number of American productions, how have you found the transition from working in Australia to working in the US and finding roles there?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. As an actor, you always need to be, making your own connections, or I've found anyway. A lot of the work that I've got is from the connections I've been making, and this little side hustles to get things going. So it's a massive industry over in the US, and there's more and more stuff coming to Australia, and it's really important to be linked in, because hooked up to what's happening, and because there's a lot of things that unless you're at a certain level, you don't even get an audition for, you don't get a call for, or you need to have your ear to the ground to. I mean, for example, the Wishman film, it wouldn't have happened had I not been out at that event and heard about it and followed up as I did. So it's a tricky one, but I mean, I think the transition is, I don't think I'll ever stop making opportunities, because life's too short to sit and wait for somebody to call on the phone. Although they are nice to get those phone calls. Oh, you got an offer of this job or that job. It's like, great. That's why you do the 20 years of work beforehand, so that you can get that one phone call of a great opportunity.
Of course. What was that phone call like when you were offered a role in Days of Our Lives?
Well, that was literally a phone call. I'd done an audition series. I got flown over to LA for a competition called Search for a Star, which they were looking for an Aussie actor to play an Australian doctor on the show. So I went over and I did the full screen tests and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't end up getting that role. But it was years later when I think I saw the casting director out somewhere, or my wife, or Kim, my friend who was my girlfriend at the time. She realized that we were together, and she said, "Oh, I've got a perfect role for you guys," and playing a couple. And I needed to propose to her, like in the TV show. I was supposed to propose to her in the scene, but the funny part of the story is that I actually did want to propose to Kim in real life as well. So I'm thinking maybe I can do it during a live take of Days of Our Lives. That can be my actual proposal, could be this. And I'm like, okay, so trying to work it through. With Days of Our Lives, as you probably know, they have one take. Like they shoot 6 episodes in a week, 50-minute episodes, but they all have just one take. You might get a second one if you stuff it up. So I've got this one scene where I'm supposed to propose to Kim, but I need to do it in a way that she, stick with the lines that she knows that are in the script that they're expecting me to say, because they've got us on a job. But I also want her to really know that this is a legitimate proposal right now. So she takes it serious, and it's like the moment of, but then I'm like, if you put in too many extra words, they're like, what are you doing? Like, these are your lines. We've got a lot of script to get through today. And so it didn't end up being there, but I had the moment of like, will you marry me? Really? I'm like, whoa, you're doing too much. So it didn't get there, but it was a thought. That was a bit of my Days of Our Lives experience in the end.
How very interesting. And I read too that you've had experience with the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Yeah, the Australian Shakespeare Company. Yes, that's true. For Wind in the Willows, I have been doing that for the last 6 or 7 years, playing the naughty weasel, which is a lot of fun down in the Botanical Gardens, the Royal Botanic Gardens, and in Sydney. And it's a great show for family, young and old. And it's a whole lot of fun. And it's a good opportunity to black out some teeth and get my naughty weasel going. Yeah.
But it demonstrates how diverse you have to be as an actor, for film, for television, for theatre, for live productions, etc. You really have to be as diverse as possible to get the roles.
That's it. Yeah, no, there's and I do a bunch of other things as well, and play live music, play guitar and sing, but yeah, I think at the heart of it, it's what I enjoy is A, telling stories, but B, affecting people, changing their mood from, hopefully from, something that's a little just brightening their day, basically. And I think that's what's great about Wishman is the nucleus of that story is about giving back and charity, and a simple act of kindness causing a ripple effect. Like, for example, Frank doing one good thing, brightening the day of a sick kid, had the ripple effect of that was this huge charity that we know now today as Make-A-Wish, which is in dozens of countries. There's over 500,000 wishes that have been granted worldwide in the last 40 years. And, so that's millions of people who have been infected, so close to their home and in a time when they really need it. So, hopefully, your viewers can get out there and log on to wonder.watch, and 40% of that money, as we said, will go through to Make-A-Wish. But the whole platform that is Wonder is incredible, because all the films and shows are all things that make you, uplift you. Sometimes they are challenging. There's a lot of faith-based things as well. But they're all things that kind of leave you in a positive headspace. And I think there's so much content out there that doesn't do that, and it's a breath of fresh air, Wonder. So get on there and check that out anyway.
Oh, I agree. Everyone listening to this and watching this, have a look at wonder.watch, and especially Wishman. Just to conclude, Andrew, are you in any other roles at the moment that we can see you in?
Look, there is at the moment I'm producing a film which I'm got a leading role in that, and Kim's also got a leading role, and so too does Luke Ford, who you might know from Black Balloon and The Mummy, and so we're just going to production for that. It's called Other You, and that is it's set in a world where traveling to parallel universes is a possibility. And it encourages us, the kind of through line of the story is about, encouraging you to be the best version of yourself. And our lead character in this, goes to different parallel universe, switches out with another version of himself, and they learn things from the life that the other version of themselves lives, that they can implement and make their own life better. So I think it encourages us to look inward and also outward to be inspired to take positive changes into our life.
Okay, Other You. Look forward to seeing that when it's completed. And
Yeah.
Andrew, last question I love asking all filmmakers, actors, etc. Have you seen anything recently, film, television, streaming, whatever, that has impressed you?
Well, Mr. In Between. I don't know if you've seen any of that. That is a very, that's Blue Tongue Films. Nash Edgerton created or directed. But that was, I've been getting through that. That's it's a pretty hard hitting, show, but he has redeeming qualities. So that was just something that's just been, they're 25-minute episodes, and it's, it's hard hitting stuff. So that's something. But then, on the flip side, I've been watching a bit of Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well, which is a completely different, fun, super funny. So those are my two. I go from super dark to like uplifting, which is, I think you need that yin and yang in your life.
Contrasts are very good indeed. We've been speaking to Andrew Steele, who is the lead actor and also your co-producer. I noticed in the credits of Wishman, playing Frank Schankwitz, the founder of Make-A-Wish Foundation, film available now on wonder.watch. Andrew, thanks so much for talking with me.
Of course. Thank you, Peter. All the best.